It's October 12th, 2020, and it's time to review 5 of the most outrageous, infuriating, or just plain baffling things that have happened lately. It's your Facepalm 5. Let's count them up. Number 1, Trump tests positive for COVID, still negative for decency. Hi everybody, welcome to the Facepalm 5 for this week. This is the second to last episode of the Facepalm 5. As I announced last time, I'm ending the show after the episode after this one, but we can talk about that a little bit later. For now, let's get into this. So yeah. A lot has happened since the last episode of this series, huh? On September 30th, the New York Times reported on a Cornell University study that was about to be released, which found that Donald Trump was the, quote, single biggest driver of misinformation related to the coronavirus. Most of that misinformation came in the form of Trump hyping up bogus miracle cures for COVID. Now, no surprise there, really. And then, 2 days later, Trump announced that he and his wife had tested positive for the coronavirus. Also no surprise, but still nice to hear. Trump was flown to Walter Reed Hospital, where he spent that weekend receiving treatment and taking obviously staged propaganda photos intended to create the impression that he was working during his illness, which, now that I think about it, is probably more accurate than I initially gave it credit for, since pretending to sign blank sheets of paper is probably about all the work he does normally. He also insisted on getting into a car and driving around outside the hospital to wave to supporters, explaining later that he did it because that's what a leader does, ignores medical advice, and needlessly exposes his security detail to his potentially lethal virus. Leadership! I'm seeing that the stream is lagging for people. Let me pause for a second and see if I can fix it. Because I don't want that. I'm not sure why it is lagging. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, of course, it's the second to last episode, so naturally something would go wrong. Let me... Okay, let's see how this does. I'm still getting a notification from XSplit that I'm dropping frames, but YouTube. Okay, this is now it's back. I think it must be. I must be having internet connection problems, because it has it tells me it has an excellent connection, and then it goes out and then it comes back again. So, anyway. How is this? Is this okay? I know you're saying it's still not working. Still lagging, yeah. Yeah, it's frustrating because there doesn't seem to be a whole lot I can do. Why Shaked in the live chat says, don't let the streaming problems dominate your life. That's funny. So, okay, let's see. It's telling me now that I have an excellent connection, and it tells me, and I'm not getting any notices that I'm getting dropped frames or anything. So, okay, we'll just say that it's working, and we'll just go for it. Okay. So anyway, as I was saying, Trump tested positive for COVID. He went to Walter Reed. He took his little joyride outside and waved to his supporters and exposed everybody in the car with him to COVID potentially. And then when people gave him shit about it, he said, well, that's what a leader does. A leader exposes his security detail to potentially lethal viruses. Leadership. Yes, Jesse. Yes, Jesse, I did. Ozma gave me that internet COVID last night. I guess that's what happened. I should have. Oh, now it's doing it again. Now I'm getting errors again. So I really, it's really frustrating, and I have no idea what the problem is. But anyway, okay, I'm just going to keep going. I'm not getting any. I think it must be. I think it's an internet. It's an internet issue on my end, and there's really nothing I can do about it. So I'm just gonna plow ahead, and hopefully it works. So Trump was released from Walter Reed the following Monday, and he went on to do a bunch of other stuff that I'll talk about later in the Lord Dampnut segment. But for right now, I want to focus on how Trump caught COVID and how he and his administration learned absolutely nothing as a result. Despite the pandemic continuing to be a serious threat to public health, the Saturday before he announced testing positive, Trump attended a gathering at the White House for his Supreme Court nominee, Judge Amy Coney Barrett. Most people at the event didn't wear masks, didn't practice social distancing, and to date, at least 8 people who were there have tested positive for the coronavirus. And yet, in the aftermath of Trump and numerous others in his orbit testing positive, neither his own attitude toward the virus nor that of his administration seems to have changed. White House officials are still seen working and addressing the media without masks, without social distancing. Trump himself, post-hospitalization, has repeatedly insisted that the virus is no big deal, that people shouldn't let it dominate their lives, and Trump and his surrogates and supporters are clearly eager to resume in-person campaign events, even though it's still not clear if Trump has tested negative for the virus at all since being released from Walter Reed. So, and perhaps most egregiously of all, the administration has refused to carry out contact tracing for the guests of that ceremony for Judge Barrett that seems to have played such a large role in spreading the White House outbreak. Dr. Joshua Barocas, who is a public health expert quoted in a New York Times article on this subject, called the lack of contact tracing following the Barrett event, quote, a total abdication of responsibility by the Trump administration. And isn't that the nicest possible way of putting it? It's more than an abdication of responsibility. It's a deranged indifference to human life and public health, and not just of the population at large, but of Trump's own people. Trump has not only downplayed the seriousness of the virus to the public and has not only used his position to resist and undermine efforts to contain the pandemic, he has also consistently failed to protect even the people closest to him. Case in point, several people who helped Trump with his preparation for the first presidential debate have also tested positive. And speaking of which, let's just talk about the debates, I guess. So, yeah, we've had 2 debates since the last Facepalm 5. Last week was the vice presidential debate between Mike Pence and Kamala Harris, and the week before that was the... You know what? Let's start with the VP debate. Let's do that. Let's start with that one. So Pence and Harris had their debate, and the way it went was Harris made some good points, corrected a few falsehoods, and gave us all the gift of some truly priceless facial expressions that I'm sure many of us could relate to on a deep emotional level. And on the other side, Pence ignored all the questions, said whatever he wanted, talked over Harris and the moderator, Susan Page, who might as well not even have been there, lied his ass off, shamelessly attacked Harris for politicizing the COVID-19 pandemic, basically performed his standard Donald Trump if he could keep his shit together for 5 straight minutes routine, and then a fly landed on his head for a couple of minutes, and that's all anyone talked about afterwards because I hate this country. I hate it. I thought the fly was funny too, folks. I did. I laughed. I thought the fly was funny. But for Christ's sake, can we focus a little bit less on the fly and a little bit more on Pence's actual fascism? Not to mention his self-serving real-time historical revisionism. He didn't so much try to put a positive spin on the Trump administration's abysmal coronavirus response as he just straight up imagined an alternate universe where they'd done a great job and talked about that the whole time as if it were real. Your self-insert Trump fanfic is not canon, Mike. The week before the VP debate, there was the first presidential debate between Trump and Joe Biden, and that one was... how to describe it? So, a few years ago, there was this big event in Washington, D.C. for atheists. It was the Reason Rally. It was the second Reason Rally, actually. And I went... And after the rally, I was back at my hotel and some friends and I were hanging out. This was back when you could hang out with your friends in person without having to worry about killing everybody. And this fellow YouTuber who is drunk as hell and feeling very full of himself comes up to me and starts an argument about something I said that he made a video about, which I didn't watch. And the guy just will not let it go, will not stop talking, keeps asking me questions and then interrupting me when I try to answer, ignores every point I make, never gets within an astronomical unit of a coherent point himself. And eventually I just sit down and go back to talking to my friends and he wanders away to claim victory, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, the point of that story is I know exactly how Joe Biden felt when he was on stage with Trump. Well, not exactly. See, the drunken shithead who started up with me didn't insult the memory of my war hero son who later died of cancer, or belittle my other living son for once having a drug problem. Trump did both of those things to Biden, shamelessly, live on national television, and Biden handled it beautifully by forcefully rebuking Trump for calling people who served honorably in the military, like his son Beau, suckers and losers, and by acknowledging that, yes, his son Hunter did have a drug problem, like many other people, and Hunter has gotten help and dealt with it, and for that, Joe is proud of him. I wish Biden didn't have to say it, but he did have to, because Donald Trump is a piece of shit, and I'm glad he did. I know a lot of folks latched on to the bit where Biden told Trump, "Will you shut up, man?" But for me, Biden's classy and heartfelt response to Trump's disgusting attacks on his sons were his finest moments and made me want to vote for him even more than I already do. Well, there was supposed to be a second presidential debate later this week, but first it was changed from an in-person debate to a virtual one due to Trump's COVID diagnosis, and then Trump chickened out of the virtual debate, so the Commission on Presidential Debates canceled it. And really, it's just as well. There's still supposed to be another debate between Trump and Biden on the 22nd of October. But, you know, if that one gets called off too, it wouldn't break my heart. Do we really need another 90 minutes of Trump interrupting Biden, bickering with the moderator, lying and spreading conspiracy theories to a national television audience? If you want to see that, just watch Fox News, because he's on it practically every day now. Number 3, new report reveals how Justice Department pushed family separation policy. Remember when the Trump administration committed that crime against humanity for which they were never held accountable? Sorry, you need more than that, don't you? Remember the family separation policy at the southern border a couple of years ago, where children of undocumented immigrants were torn away from their families, and in some cases the families were deported and the kids were never given back? And remember how At the time, administration officials responded to the outrage provoked by those separations by saying, hey, we're just following the law. People who cross the border illegally need to be prosecuted. And sometimes that process requires them to be separated from their kids if they brought them along. It's not about cruelty. It's about the rule of law. Yeah. So it turns out it was totally about cruelty. A draft of an inspector general's report reviewed by the New York Times revealed that both then Attorney General Jeff Sessions and then Attorney General Rod Rosenstein knew the zero tolerance policy would result in family separations, refused requests from prosecutors to establish an age limit below which children would not be separated from their parents, and told prosecutors that taking children away from undocumented immigrants was necessary and that it didn't matter how young they were. The draft report alleges that top officials in the Justice Department were, quote, a driving force behind the family separation policy. There's even an account in the report of Rosenstein scolding prosecutors for declining to prosecute 2 cases due to the fact that the defendants had very young children who would have had to be separated from them. A spokesperson, actually, I should say, for the Justice Department called the report inaccurate and questioned the motivations of the people responsible for it, which is the stock response from this administration anytime it gets caught with its hand in the cookie jar. And just so we're clear, the cookies in the jar are atrocity biscottis. I'm sorry. Let's just forget all about that terrible joke or whatever it was and move on by discussing the imminent destruction of human civilization, shall we? Do you want to do that? Let's do that. Number 4, leaked documents show Exxon's plan to increase carbon emissions. How bad does an oil company have to be significantly more evil than the other oil companies? This bad. Last week, Bloomberg reported that ExxonMobil, one of the largest of the big oil companies, is pursuing a $210 billion investment strategy that will increase its net annual carbon emissions by 21 million tons by the year 2025. The report, based on internal documents from the company itself, estimates that Exxon's carbon emissions in the next 5 years will increase as much as those of the entire nation of Greece. And okay, maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, it's an oil company. What else should we expect? And you're right. But what I'm telling you is, even when judged on the sliding scale of oil companies, what Exxon is doing or planning to do, according to these documents, is deeply, deeply fucked up. Yes, to hell with oil companies in general. I'm with you 100%. But other major oil companies such as BP and Royal Dutch Shell have introduced plans to scale back fossil fuel production and drastically reduce or eliminate carbon emissions. Exxon is planning to do the exact opposite of that. See? It's shit like this that makes me happy. This is the second to last episode of this series. It really does. So, let's finish up by shifting focus from the end of all human civilization to just the crashing decline of my country. Because it's now time for the segment devoted to some of the other things Donald Trump has done recently to disgrace the presidency and embarrass and or endanger the United States and the rest of the world. It's number 5, the further misadventures of Lord Dampnut. And please keep in mind, as always, the following is not a complete list. So I told you about Trump testing positive for COVID in the first segment, but I didn't tell you about Trump's COVID spreading steroid follies, which followed. In the days after his release from Walter Reed and that unconvincing triumphant return to the White House, where he stepped out onto the balcony and removed his mask to let us all see how much trouble breathing he was having, Trump gave a series of phone interviews, and they were something. He appeared on Maria Bartiromo's show on Fox Business, where he called for Attorney General Barr to prosecute Joe Biden and former President Barack Obama for spying on his 2016 presidential campaign, something which never actually happened. Trump's campaign was lawfully investigated due to its extensive coordination with Russians seeking to aid Trump's election, and there's no evidence either Obama or Biden had anything to do with that investigation. And something which Trump insists on referring to as treasonous, which it wouldn't be even if it did happen the way Trump says it did, which, to reiterate, it didn't. Trump also told Bartiromo that his recovery from COVID was due to the fact that he is a, quote, perfect physical specimen and, quote, extremely young. Okay. During his interview with Bartiromo, Trump also implied that he may have contracted COVID from meeting with Gold Star families. And Gold Star families, just so we're all clear on the terminology here, are the families of American soldiers who were killed in action. Trump is low-key blaming his COVID diagnosis on the families of dead soldiers. He's just all fucking class, this guy. By the way, I hope all the Gold Star family members Trump has met with recently have gotten themselves tested and are being looked after, because if there was any COVID transmitting going on there, it was probably in the opposite direction from what Trump is saying. Later, he called into Sean Hannity's show on Fox News and rambled off a series of non sequiturs from his typical campaign speech, like the one about how California needs to stop rationing water to save tiny little fish, and insisted that he felt great and was cured despite repeatedly coughing and not sounding so great. When Hannity asked twice if Trump had been tested since his COVID diagnosis, Trump dodged the question and changed the subject. But the centerpiece of Trump's post-hospitalization media blitz was a 2-hour appearance on Rush Limbaugh's radio show on Friday. Yes, that's right. The President of the United States called into the Rush Limbaugh show on Friday for 2 hours because he doesn't have anything better to do, clearly. During the 2 hours he spent on the radio, Trump insisted that the only reason he would lose the election in California is because people there vote 3 times. He said the term Black Lives Matter was racist because it sows division between black people and everyone else. He'd know something about that. He said if Joe Biden wins the election, the United States will become a failed nation. He once again criticized Attorney General Barr for not arresting and prosecuting his political enemies for non-existent crimes. He threatened the nation of Iran, saying, if you fuck around with us, we're going to do things to you that have never been done before. Like what? Like, what's the worst we can do? Nuke 'em? That has literally been done before. By us. Something Trump did repeatedly throughout his media appearances was to claim that he had been cured of COVID-19 after being treated with an experimental antibody cocktail produced by Regeneron. And the treatment, which is called REGN-CoV2, is still in the trial phase of its development. And while early signs indicate that it has a positive effect, helping to shorten the illness of people infected with COVID, especially those who show only mild symptoms, those results are based on studies with relatively small sample sizes. Of course, Trump only cares about a sample of 1 himself, and since he's feeling better, that means it's a miracle cure. He told Limbaugh that he had been healed of COVID and that the treatment he received should be sent all over the country so people can take it and be, quote, immediately better. So let's be clear on this. Even if Trump really is feeling as good as he says he is, there are indications that he's not. And even if that is due largely or even entirely to the REGN-CoV2 treatment he received, that is not sufficient evidence to call this treatment a cure for COVID or to start distributing it widely to patients. One patient taking a drug and getting better is nickel trial, especially if that one person is Donald Trump, who, as I mentioned earlier, has been pushing bogus miracle cures for months. for him to go on TV and radio and promise people this amazing drug that's going to wipe out COVID infection in every patient who receives it is gross and irresponsible and perfectly in character for the horrid nightmare of a human being he is. He disrupted negotiations in Congress for a new COVID relief bill, first tweeting that he was ending all such negotiations from his side until after the election and blaming Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, then coming back a few days later and proposing an even bigger relief package than the one they were arguing about when he away. And then he told Rush Limbaugh that he actually supported a plan that would spend even more money than that, or than the $2.2 trillion plan that the Democrats were pushing for, which would be great if I thought for a second he was actually serious about it and not just trying to juice his poll numbers the same way his doctors juiced him with steroids to make him think he was all better and immune to COVID when he's not. He reportedly considered staging a stunt where he left Walter Reed, where he would appear weak at first when he came out, and then he would straighten up and pull open his shirt to reveal a Superman shirt underneath. Would actually have been a perfect demonstration of the Trump presidency. A weak, sick man pretending to be a strong, healthy man who is only pretending to be weak and sick, attempting to show how... Before I get too far into this, let me back up. The FBI announced that it had foiled a plot to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer and overthrow the government of Michigan. That's what actually happened. And that seems like kind of a big deal, right? 6 people were charged federally and 7 more were charged by the state of Michigan in connection with this plot, which was to be carried out by a militia, I misspoke, by a domestic terrorist group called the Wolverine Watchmen. At a press conference announcing the state criminal charges, Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel said, quote, "The individuals in custody are suspected to have attempted to identify the home addresses of law enforcement officers in order to target them, made threats of violence intended to instigate a civil war, and engaged in planning and training for an operation to attack the Capitol building of Michigan and to kidnap government officials, including the governor of Michigan." Again, I apologize for the lag, everybody. There's really much I can do about it. You might remember that right-wing terrorists and general-purpose dipshits in Michigan have had a bug up their collective ass for a while now. Back in April, a group of armed protesters, there we go again, terrorists, occupied the state capitol to rally against a stay-at-home order that Governor Whitmer had issued in order to stop the spread of the coronavirus. 2 weeks before that, Trump had tweeted in all caps, "Liberate Michigan," and that was probably just a coincidence. Following the announcement of the foiled kidnapping / overthrowing the government plot last week, Trump tweeted, quote, "Governor Whitmer of Michigan has done a terrible job. My Justice Department and federal law enforcement announced today that they foiled a dangerous plot against the governor of Michigan. Rather than say thank you, she calls me a white supremacist. Governor Whitmer, open up your state, open up your schools, and open up your churches." So he blames her. He whines about not being thanked for other people's work, by the way. And then he gives her order to open up her state in the middle of a pandemic, which is still going on after 8 months because so many states followed his clueless lead and did open up prematurely. He's so predictable that he could just be a bot at this point. You don't just know that he's going to say something awful and wrong. You can guess how it's going to be awful and wrong and probably get it right. Of course, Governor Whitmer did thank the people responsible for investigating the Wolverine Watchmen and foiling this plot against her, the people actually responsible for foiling the plot. She told CNN, quote, "The brave men and women of these 2 police organizations put their lives on the line to keep me and my family safe. I'm incredibly grateful and humbled by the work they do." The reason she didn't thank Trump is because Trump didn't do anything. and incite and encourage the terrorists behind the plot, that is. Whitmer went on to say in an CNN interview, quote, "Just last week, the President of the United States stood before the American people and refused to condemn white supremacists and hate groups like these two Michigan militia groups. Quote, stand back and stand by," he told them. Hate groups heard the president's word not as a rebuke, but as a rallying cry, as a call to action. When our leaders speak, their words matter. They carry weight. Well, that's what Governor Whitmer said. And what part of that is untrue? What part of that is unfair to Trump? Neither the FBI nor the Michigan Attorney General's office has released evidence directly establishing that the Wolverine Watchman's actions were inspired by something Trump said. But despite that, two things seem undeniable. The last 4 years have seen a significant resurgence in activities of white supremacist groups, including neo-Nazis and far-right terrorists. And those resurgent groups all seem to think Donald Trump is pretty great, because they think he's one of them. And why shouldn't they? Despite his very occasional, half-hearted, forcibly extracted condemnations, he sure acts like one of them. And when they are arrested for plotting to abduct a government official and incite a civil war, Trump is far more interested in shaming an intended victim than in denouncing and disavowing them. Can we please vote this fucking guy out in a few weeks? Well, now, before we wrap up the official portion of the show, because this is the Facepalm 5 and the news is therefore, here's one last thing, and it is the feel-good fix for this episode of the Facepalm 5. And the feel-good fix this time is this. Things are looking good for Biden. Now, I know last time the feel-good fix was about Joe Biden too, but seriously, the election is in a few weeks, and I want Biden to win. And at this point, according to both national polls as well as polls in crucial battleground states, he is winning. He's even winning or strongly competitive in states where a Democratic presidential victory would have been unthinkable an election cycle or two ago, like Georgia and South Carolina and even Texas. If you want to do more than vote, you can donate to the campaign, or donate to the campaign of a Democrat running for the Senate or running to unseat a Republican in the House. And consider phone banking. You can make calls to encourage people to get out and vote in your state or another state right from home. There are links in the description of this video for virtual events in Georgia and Ohio, because those two seem perhaps the most flippable at this point. Or you can just go to joebiden.com/call, select the state you want, and it'll give you a list of phone banks you can take part in between now and Election Day. And I am doing that this week, probably on Thursday, because that's when I'll have time to do it. And look, it is totally out of my comfort zone. I'm nervous as shit about it, but I'm going to give it a try, because I want Biden to win this election, and I want the Democrats to win a majority in the Senate. So if you want to make a difference, and if this is something you can do, please consider doing it. Let's not get the cart before the horse. We still need to make this happen, to get out and vote. But the good news is it's looking increasingly likely that not only can we beat Trump, we can repudiate him. We can deliver a crushing, undeniable defeat to him and his supporters, and maybe even take back the U.S. Senate in the process. It's within our grasp. So be encouraged. Stay active. And vote. Let's do this. Well, stay tuned, everybody, for the after show. But until then, that's 5. Speak out, act out, resist, and look after each other. Okay, are we back? Let me see. It doesn't look like it's actually any better. I'm not sure what the problem is. I don't think that did any good at all. I think I just have a real connection tonight. And that's just kind of that, because I reset my modem and it doesn't seem to have done like any good at all. So unfortunately, I guess we're just going to have to make do with this. Let me let me try one more thing. I'll be right back. Haha, I forgot to unmute myself. Thank you, some random geek. And hey, Atticus is here, and the first thing I see him say is no sound. I turned it on. It's good. You should be able to hear me now. Oh man, pantomime. I wish I were a more gifted mime. I think that would be a much better. Yeah. Anyway, so you can hear me now, right? Yeah. Douglas Sharon says, "Do you really hate the country, Steve? If so, why do you live in it?" It's not. I mean, there are times when I do super hate it. Yeah. Why do I live in it? I mean, I don't always have. Like we don't all have a choice to just move away. It's not as simple as just, well, I'll just move to another country. That seems like, if you don't like it, then go live in another country. Oh, okay, I'll just go live in another fucking country. But yeah, anyway, before I get too far into this, I've gotten some super chats that I want to acknowledge. I got a super chat way back toward the beginning of the show from Mike D. That's thank you, Mike. That said, "No, focus on the fly, please." No, I'm not going to focus on the fly, Mike. That was the whole point. And then I also got one about 20 minutes ago from Calvin McGowan. Thank you, Calvin, for your generosity. It says, "Anyone else feel like the world is the video game and the person playing as the USA should really read some guides? I mean, come on. They're playing on easy mode and they still can't get it together." What a great point. And then there was also a super chat that I just received from Caleb Horn. Thank you, Caleb. It says, "Have you seen the Weird Al music video on the first debate? It was pretty funny. We're living the apocalypse. I'm begging you to put a stop to this pretty please." I have not seen it. I don't know, but it sounds terrific. And I also want to acknowledge, before I get too far into the after show, and before things completely take a shit again, if that's indeed what's going to happen, I want to acknowledge my newest Patreon patrons, who have pledged $5 a month to support me on Patreon or more. And here are their names. And I'm going to move over here so you can see me. Their names are Steve Godber. Thank you, Steve. Grant Byer. Thank you, Grant. Loretta Reyes. Thank you, Loretta. Mad Brad, Virginia's only skeptic. Thank you, Mad Brad. Shelley Gold. Thank you, Shelley. Aaron Wagner. Thank you, Aaron. Frunobulax the Poodle. Thank you, Frunobulax the Poodle. And Christopher Greavy. I think I know that guy. So thanks to all of my newest my newest Patreon patrons. I appreciate the support. You make it possible for me to do what I do, even on a night like this where the stream is really, really spotty and taking a shit the whole time. I appreciate your support. If you want to support my work here on YouTube, you can go to patreon.com/Steve Shives and become a patron for any amount per month. $1 a month or more is great. $5 a month or more gets you a shout out. And don't forget, you can also pledge annually now instead of monthly if you want, and you still get a shout out if you pledge the equivalent of $5 a month or more. There you go. So let's hang out and, oh, Radical Bacon, did you get skipped? I didn't mean, Radical Bacon. I guess I didn't see your name on the list. I apologize. I didn't mean for you to get skipped. And Radical Bacon as well, because now that you mention it, I remember. Yeah, I'm not sure. I totally apologize. I'm sorry. I don't know how that happened. But yeah, Radical Bacon too. Absolutely. Yeah, and Radical Bacon is the best. So I'm really, really sorry about that. I have no idea how that happened. Radical Bacon has been a viewer and a fan and a great pal of mine for many, many years. I love you. I'm sorry I skipped your name. I didn't mean to. I don't know how that happened. But yeah, so anybody want what do we want to talk about for the next little while in the after show? Keep in mind, this is the penultimate episode of the Facepalm 5. There will only be one more of these, and then I'm not doing this anymore. I'm doing an interview show where I'm going to talk to cool people, and we're going to talk about stuff, and maybe sometimes we'll talk about like current events, and we'll talk about political stuff. Like, I don't want to be like, I'm not going to take like the political stuff and the current events commentary like completely out of the channel. That's not going to happen, but it's not going to be Facepalm 5 anymore. It's just, I can't, oh fuck, I just can't fucking do it anymore. So, we'll spend some time together here tonight in the after show, and then in 2 weeks, there'll be one more Facepalm 5, and then that's it. That's it. Just got another super chat from Igel Full Metal. It says, just wanted to pop in and note that herd immunity without vaccination is eugenics. Also, I hope Trump doesn't relapse hard. Wink, 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 wink. Yeah, completely agreed on all counts there. Yeah, Atticus, end of an era. Yeah, I mean, I just like, I think I talked about this last time, right? I talked about when I said like that I'm ending the series. Doing the show is great, right? Another super chat from Mike P. The Fly. Thank you very much for your generosity, my friend. I'm over the Fly. Like, I'm totally over that fucking Fly. Anyway, what I was saying. Doing the show, like doing the Facepalm 5 is a lot of fun. Even tonight when I'm having like streaming issues and there's lag and it keeps cutting out, like even in a situation like that where it's frustrating and I'm not sure how to fix it, it's fun. Like it's a fun show to do, to actually perform. Writing it is like the worst. And just grinds me the fuck down, man. Like it's just, fuck it. I'm tired of doing it. So I'm not going to do it anymore. I got another super chat here from Robert F. Jobin, who says, maybe someday we'll have a fist bump 5 where you just talk about things we've done to improve the country. It would be nice if there was more material for that. Wouldn't it? Yeah. Caroline Clark says, this is the penultimate show. In 2 weeks, are you selling off the stadium seats? What? Robert Mills, how are negotiations going with Stuffy and the gang's agent? There is some movement in that area. I will put it that way. There's still a lot of stuff about that I cannot talk about, and I'm not being coy about it or whatever. Like, I literally cannot tell you about it. But yes, things are moving forward a little bit on the Stuffy front. There may be a Stuffy episode in the next couple of weeks. Fingers crossed. 255 AD says, I know it's probably going to seem like Trump won on the night, but I know I'm going to see them and shit myself anyway. What about you? I don't know. I mean, maybe it won't seem like Trump wins on the night. I mean, I know that like people are talking about the blue shift, how it's possible that Trump may seem like he's ahead on election night, but then when all the mail-in votes are counted, Biden will pull ahead and actually win the election. And I'm not saying that that's not going to happen, but I would not at all be surprised if Biden wins, if it is obvious on election night that he won. I feel like if Biden wins this, it's not going to be like a super close election, you know, that it's going to be a blowout. And I fucking hope so. I really, really hope so. No, hey, super chat from Kaylee Hardy. So what's the buzz? the sound that a bee makes. I don't know. What is the buzz? I don't know. Deralta Trekkie says, what was your best and what was your worst Facepalm 5? The one where you were having difficulties performing on stream, or the one where you just had smooth sailing? I mean, smooth sailing on the stream is always better. You know, like difficulties. I see what you're saying. Like, what was the worst? Performing them all is fine. Like, performing them is never a problem. No matter how depressing the news is, like, no matter how fucked up the stories are that I'm talking about, performing them on the show is always a blast. Like, sometimes I'll play it up. Like, I will play up my frustration that I do genuinely feel, like, with a story or with something Trump did or something like that. That's coming from a genuine place. But I'm not, like, there are times when I play it during the show like I'm just at the end of my rope, like I'm just about to snap. And that's never actually the case. Like, that comes from a very true place emotionally. But in the moment, I'm just acting. I'm just pretending that I'm at the end of my rope, because it's never that bad in that moment. There's a truth to it. You know, there's an emotional truth to it, but I'm playing it up for the show. So it's never, like, actually doing the show is a blast. It's writing it and preparing it that is miserable, and that I'm really looking forward to not doing. Caroline Clark says, new season of Discovery this week. Yes, I know. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for the new season of Discovery. I cannot even tell you how excited I am for the new season of Discovery. I'm very, very excited about it. And Friendly Travel Agent says, have you seen Star Trek Lower Decks? Yes. And just today, I shot my review video for season 1, and that video will be out on Wednesday. And you'll find out what I thought of Lower Decks. It probably will not be a terrible surprise to people what I thought of Lower Decks, but yeah. Oh, Keely, it was a fly joke. See, I completely missed that. This is not the time to be doing subtle jokes. Or this is not the time to be telling Steve subtle jokes. I completely missed that. Of course, it was a fucking fly joke. Thank you, Keely. I'm sorry that I completely stepped on that and ruined it. Radical Bacon says, what are you going to do now that you've reached the 2,500 goal? I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. I guess that 2,500 was what that's the equipment. That's the equipment upgrade, right? Is that what that is? I don't know. I can't even remember. I'm completely discombobulated. Deralta Trekkie says, maybe you need people who write the thing for you, and then you just need to perform it. Or maybe maybe I just need to stop doing it. Dana says, I'm at 6 out of 9 essays for tonight. I don't want to grade anymore. When you really, really, really hate doing the Facepalm 5, how do you make yourself get the script written? I mean, yeah. Dana says some of the money clearly needs to go to better internet. The internet that I have, honestly, the frustrating part is, like, it's the only game in town. Although now that things seem okay, I think the problem may have been XSplit. I think maybe I should have just, like, restarted XSplit at the beginning, and it would have been okay. I'm not sure what the issue was with that, but yeah. But anyway, how do I force myself to do it? I force myself to write it. I sit there and I say, this needs to be done by tomorrow for the show, and I just make myself do it. Like, it's miserable. It's miserable. I hate it. That's why I'm not going to do it anymore after next time. Super chat from Caleb Horn, who says, ongoing battle here in Texas over number of drop-off polling locations. Governor Abbott, for example, wants to limit drop-off locations in Harris County from 12 to 1 locations. Federal judge ruled it's unconstitutional. AG fights it. I saw the story about that. Isn't it like the Republicans are totally the ones who are trying to commit voter fraud, right? Like in California, there was a story about the phony boxes. The Republican Party of California put out, like, phony ballot boxes. Like, how is that not voter fraud? How are they? How are you going to accuse the Democrats of trying to steal the election when you're putting out phony ballot boxes? It's oh god, it pisses me off. And then super chat from Dryzart in the amount of $17.01. Thank you very much for that. Dana says in all caps, that doesn't actually answer the question. I don't know. Like it's hard to articulate. Like I just grind it out. Like, I don't know if I pick my 5 things and I have all the info, all of the research for it bookmarked. And I just forcibly extract the words from my brain. Like, I don't know how else to say it. It's really fucking hard. I hate it. Secular Scholar says, do you need any help on your DS9 B5 Trek Actually video? I'm a B5 fanboy. I'm just seeing Dana's comments. No, I don't. Thank you for the offer. I don't need any help. I've made a start on it. I think it's going really well. I think it's going to be a really good video. I appreciate the offer, but I think I've got it handled. Another super chat from Mike D says, okay, sorry about the fly comments, Steve, and thank you for all the awesome content from Trek Actually to the Ensign's log to right now. If I see you update, it's a bright spot to my day. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That really means a lot. Some random geek, there is a scenario in which I may invite you onto the interview show, but we can discuss that at another time. Yeah, Dana says, obviously you're having trouble articulating. Fine, just fine. Well, yeah, Serenity. Yes, yeah, Devin Nunes. Well, and was it? I think it was in a district in North Carolina, and was it 2018 or 2016? There was one of the recent elections where in a district in North Carolina there was ballot harvesting, which is illegal, and it was done by Republicans. There was ballot harvesting of absentee ballots done by Republicans, and they got caught. And I mean, it's Republicans that do it. Like the projection is unbelievable and shameless. Trump goes on TV almost every day and says the Democrats are going to steal the election. There's fraud in the mail-in ballots, blah, blah, blah. And the Republicans are the only ones who ever actually get caught doing it. It's the worst. The hypocrisy is shameless and shocking. Oh, bye, Radical Bacon. Time for class. Thanks for stopping by. Oh, now, oh God, now we're singing the Enterprise theme song, and of course you had to get Jessie started. Now she's going to belt out the whole fucking thing. 255 AD says, can fascists come to power when things are going well economically? Some people in the chat were arguing about if the failures of neoliberalism led to Trump coming to power. I think, I don't know. Things have been bad economically for certain people in this country for a very long time. And not all of those people are Trump supporters or thought about being Trump supporters. And not all of the people who are diehard Trump supporters are people who are economically disadvantaged. So I don't know if I don't want to say that the failures of that economic failures, things like that, didn't contribute to the rise of Trump, because I think they probably did to a certain degree. But honestly, I don't think it's a coincidence that this happened right after the first black president left office. I feel like institutional racism, and not just institutional racism, but cultural racism, just the fact that this is still a very racist country, just general from top to bottom. I think that had a lot more to do with it than the economic hardship that a lot of people have faced, because certain groups have faced economic hardship in this country for a very, very long time, and it did not lead to the rise of a figure like Trump. So, I mean, I don't want to discount that and say that had nothing to do with it, but I don't think that's it. I mean, can fascism rise in a country that doesn't have economic turmoil or economic problems? A lot of the people who support Trump and support his fascism are not economically struggling. So, I mean, I think it's certainly possible. Oh, she's still singing the song in the chat. Super chat from Corey Hankanen, who says, Jesse Gender tells us there's a video of you laughing maniacally for 4 solid minutes. I need this in my life. Post for guaranteed views. Well, I believe that's the video I sent Jesse when I recorded my last bit as Dr. Racy, and that is hers. And if she ever wants to release that, I mean, I'm completely fine with that. It was so much fun to do. It was a fun laugh to perform. Oh, this is, okay, 255 AD, this is a layup, my friend. Should teachers get extra overtime pay for the time they spend grading stuff at home? Abso-fucking-lutely they should. Abso-fucking-lutely they should. If teachers are expected to work at home after their regular working hours, they should be paid for that. What's the argument against that? Of course they should. Teachers should either be given enough time during their actual work day to get their work done, or if there is some reason why they can't get all their work done while they're actually at work and they have to work at home to finish grading or whatever, then yes, they should be paid for that. They should be compensated for that time. That's not their time. That's not their time. And yeah, Dana, that's a great point too. Just hire more teachers. Yeah, that's another way to handle it. That's a much better solution. Just hire more teachers. Just fund schools so they can afford to hire enough teachers and have enough classrooms, have enough space, have enough time in the day for everybody to do what they need to do. Yes, but the one solution that is not acceptable is just telling teachers, oh, you have to do all this unpaid work and you have to take on all this extra responsibility and we're not going to compensate you for it. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. There's no excuse for it. Nobody, no profession, no job of any kind should be expected to do that. It's fucking ridiculous and it's outrageous. Yes, of course they should. Teachers should be paid for 100% of the time they spend doing their job. Of course they should. Like, the fact that anybody, I'm not saying you're arguing against it, asking the question. I think it's a great question. It gives me a chance to rant about it. But the fact that anybody would suggest otherwise is shocking to me. Why the fuck would you expect somebody to work for free at their house on what is supposed to be their time? That's fucking ridiculous. Oh, there you go. Jesse's going to share the video. Perfect. So watch Jesse's next live stream. She will share the video, the extended cut of my ridiculous maniacal laugh. Yeah, Dana, smaller class sizes. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Jesus. More teachers, smaller class sizes, for sure. Mr. Camerite says, what do you think the chances are that Trump's Supreme Court nomination will get in? Unfortunately, my guess is 2% she will just say screw it. 13 to 18% reps will side with Dems, and 80% she will get in. You're parsing that off. I think unfortunately, I think she'll probably get in. I don't want to put a percentage to it. I can't, talk about it in those specific terms. But I mean, I think it sucks. I think it's bullshit. But unfortunately, I think she'll probably get on. And I wish I could say that was not the case. Ooh, 255 AD says, I found a short film on YouTube about what people in 1967 thought 1999 would be like. Would that be a good thing for you and the Stuffy Gang to Mystery Science Theater next time we do this? But yeah, that sounds promising. I could totally go for that. Yeah, actually, I think I can't remember if I picked what I wanted the next Stephen Stuffy Halloween or Thanksgiving show to be or not. I know I have a couple of possibilities, but I haven't like chosen one yet. So yeah, maybe. Geraldo Trekkie says, should my book / fanfic stay a 2-parter or should I turn it into a 3-parter? I have no idea. I don't know. What do you think as the writer? What would be the advantage of making it a 3-parter as opposed to a 2-parter? Like, I mean, I have no idea. Dana's doing 7 of 9. I love it. Oh, I love it. Let me see. Geraldo Trekkie says, should kindergartners be paid better too? I mean, I'm on the they need more money camp. Would you paying the kids to be in school? I mean, I'm not against giving people money. Like, I don't know. Caroline says, on your new interview show, how about interviewing Michael Worley? That would be that would be interesting to pull off from a technical level, I think. That would be. Well, Dana, relax. God, you're so mean. Paying kindergarten teachers more. You don't have to be mean to me on the stream live like that. That's just the people who take care of the kids. Yes, of course. Yes, of course they should be paid more. It doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what grade you teach or what level you teach. Yes, of course you should be. Honestly, most people who work jobs, especially people who work for hourly wages or who work, like a 40-hour work week. Of course, I think pretty much everybody should be paid more, but teachers especially, whether you're, an elementary school teacher or middle school or high school, whatever grade level. I mean, yes, of course they should. Yes, I know you choose to. I know you choose to. Yes, they should be paid more. Of course they should. Of course they should. Super chat from Caleb Horn, who says, jumping to lower decks, it's the Titan! Saw the signs throughout the episode, but was still thrilled when she warped in. Me too. I don't want to give too much away because I'm doing my lower decks review video this week, but yeah, that was a highlight of that episode and of the whole season for me. Seeing the Titan. Absolutely. I'm with you 100%. Geraldo Trekkie says journalists should be paid more. That includes you. I would never call myself a journalist, but if you think I should be paid more, I mean, you can spread that around. You can share that around. Robert Mill says there's the stupid saying of those who can do, those who can't teach, as a way to dismiss treating them. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's, I've made jokes like that, unfortunately, in the past. And yeah, teachers are one of the least respected professions that exist, maybe the least respected. I mean, especially in terms of compensation, in terms of the pressures that are put on them, in terms of the fucking bullshit blame that they take for shit that they have no control over, the things that they are asked to do with little to no resources, or almost never having the resources that they actually need or deserve to do the job they're being asked to do. Like, yeah, don't get me started on how much we fuck over teachers in this country. And how inexcusable and wrong that is. Yeah, I mean, it's gross. It's disgusting. It's obscene. Geraldo Trekkie says, I hope there is no gross out humor on lower decks. People vomiting, eating shit, etc., as is apparently being done. I don't remember any. Does anybody else in the chat who's been watching Lower Decks? I don't remember any real gross out moments. There might have been one or two, but that I'm not remembering. But I don't remember it being like that. I could be wrong. Jesse said, did you love the time Riker in Lower Decks referred to the best Trek finale ever, Steve? Did you, Steve? Janeway is watching, so you have to be honest. That moment made me smile. The reference to Enterprise from Riker made me smile. But the way Riker counted in for his order to take the ship to warp made me laugh and applaud. That was my favorite part. The Enterprise reference, yeah, that was cute. I liked that. That made me smile. But when Riker said, "Give me warp in the factor of 5, 6, 7, 8," that fucking dropped me. I laughed. I believe I may have cackled. I applauded. It was delightful. It was wonderful. Yeah, I don't remember there being a lot of gross out humor. Seal 0626. There's a little bit of gore. The zombie plague in the first episode, and there's the gag where Mariner accidentally slices Boimler's leg with the batleth. But it's not, I don't think it's real bad. Trask Largero super chat. Thank you very much. Says episode 1, the zombie plague part. Yeah. Some Random Geek says, should rich people exist? I don't have a problem with rich people existing. I don't have a problem with people being rich. I have a problem with people living in poverty. So if the solution if the government needs to tax people to that extent, to redistribute that much wealth in order to lift everybody out of poverty, that it means that there just aren't rich people anymore, then that's okay with me. But I'm not categorically opposed to people being rich. And it depends on how you define rich. I have a problem with people like Jeff Bezos or the Walton family or people like that who are just obscenely wealthy, who have more money than anybody could possibly need in their lifetime and pay not nearly their fair share of taxes and do not choose to use their money to improve society by and large. I have a huge problem with that. Yeah, I would love to see massive taxation of the ultra wealthy. That's why I thought Elizabeth Warren's plan for a super wealth tax was a great idea. But I don't have a problem with the idea of rich people existing in general, as long as we are taking care of everybody in our society, as long as people aren't living in poverty, as long as people aren't having to worry about, where their food's going to come from or if they're going to have a place to stay. If we can have an end of homelessness and an end of poverty and have everybody being able to at least exist at a basic level and have their basic needs met, and not have to worry about starving to death because they can't work or they can't find a job or they get sick or whatever, have everybody's healthcare covered, everybody's education taken care of. If we can get all of that taken care of and still have rich people, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I want people to be taken care. I want to put in a floor in our society that people can't fall beneath, and that floor has to be above people suffering in poverty. That's what I want. If you can do that and still have rich people, let the rich people have a good time. Probably they won't be nearly as rich, but you know what? They'll probably be okay. They'll probably be okay. Yes, it's Bezos. Thank you, Dana, for the reminder. It's Bezos. It's Bezos. Yes. And wealth disparity is the problem. The income inequality, wealth inequality is the problem. Not the existence of rich people. The fact that there are incredibly rich people and people who are below the bottom. That's the problem. And if you can bring the rich people down a little bit in order to bring these people up, that's what I want. I don't want to tax rich people completely out of existence. Like I said, I don't give a fuck. As long as the people at the bottom are taken care of, as long as we can fix problems like homelessness and people living in poverty and people not having enough food and all of these obscene problems that are linked to poverty, that there's no excuse for a society as wealthy as ours to have. You can fix that shit and still have rich people. Let the rich people do whatever the fuck they want. I don't give a fuck. You know, I'm not offended by the existence of rich people. I'm offended by the existence of poverty in a society where we could easily afford to do something about it. Dana has 2 more essays to grade tonight, everybody. Oh, Dana asks, how many Robins is too many? How many Robins is too many? Well, it depends. I mean, because like I love Stephanie Brown, the spoiler, you know, but she doesn't necessarily have to be Robin. Like we can keep her as a character and not have her actually be Robin. So if we're gonna go that direction and say keep her as a character but not have her be Robin, then I would say 4 is too many Robins. Because I'm perfectly fine with Robin being Dick, Jason, and Tim. You know, and we can just stop there and like, oh, there's 3 Robins, right? 4. If you want Steph to be Robin, that's fine. Then it's 4, and then 5 is too many. But I think 4 Robins is too many. I think 3 Robins is plenty. Jesse says, if we're being honest, Trump is really just a really lucky condiment king in the world of supervillains. Oh, yes, for sure. Yes, Mighty One, I said Dick. Let me tell you something. Dick is my favorite Robin. No, Tim is my favorite Robin, but Dick is like my favorite Batman-related character. And I can honestly say, I love Dick. I've loved Dick my entire life. I don't know what I would do without Dick. Dick is the best. Secular Scholar, I'm not a huge fan of Damien. No, not really. I haven't read a lot of his stuff. Like I haven't read a lot of the stories where Damien is Robin, so I don't have like a super strong opinion. But my general thought is like, what, do we have to keep adding Robins? Like Tim is a perfectly fine Robin, you know, and Dick was Robin for like 40 years before they decided to switch him out with Jason. And even Jason was Robin for what, like 7 or 8 years, you know? So yeah, Tim would have been Robin if Tim was still Robin and was like the main Robin, like he would have been Robin for about 25 or 30 years at this point, but that's not unprecedented. And it's like, there's other ways of freshening up the character than just throwing in a new Robin. You know what I'm saying? Titan Uranus, because I pronounced the name of the planet correctly. Titan Uranus. How many Nightwings can there be? Just one Nightwing. Mr. Camrat says, did you see the Lincoln Project ad where they do a parody of the Evita song? And no, I didn't. I saw it, but I didn't watch it. I mean, I saw the people were sharing it, but I didn't actually watch it. Subreddit Geek. How many Kid Flashes is too many? How many Flashes is too many? Honestly, I think 2 Kid Flashes is too many. I'm fine with 1 Kid Flash. I'm fine with there being 1 Kid Flash and then that Kid Flash eventually grows up and becomes the Flash. You know, I'm okay with that. I don't think not everything needs to be a mantle that is passed down to another generation. Like 1 Kid Flash I think is great. You know, I don't know if there needs to be more. Yeah, Atticus, now you're talking. I wonder what he's talking about. I wonder what he means. Oh, this is an interesting one from Seth Jones. Should Chris Nolan have made another movie with Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Batman instead of Batfleck? I know it was the dick comment, Atticus. I know that. I would say this. If I were Warner Brothers and I were trying to start a Justice League franchise, I would not have been so quick to reboot after the end of the Dark Knight trilogy, whether it was Christopher Nolan directing it or not. If I could have backed a dump truck of money up to Christian Bale and convinced him to come back, which I know apparently they tried to do, and he said no. He said, I did my 3 and I'm not doing anymore, which, good for him. But I would have been open to seeing a Joseph Gordon-Levitt Batman movie. I think it would have been very wise for them to set their extended universe in a world that incorporated the world of the Dark Knight trilogy, because that had been already established and was extremely successful and extremely popular. And I think it would have been at least worth giving that a try. And I would have been very curious to see, what was his name? John Blake, the Joseph Gordon-Levitt character. I would have been really interested to see a movie with that version of Batman, because that's like completely uncharted territory. Yeah. Jesse, that is a hot take. I like Damian Wayne. That is a hot take. That's fine, though. That's perfectly fine. Just means you can never write fanfic in my universe. That's all. Oh. Matt Mankin, the Chris Nolan films were the last good DC films. Yeah, I don't know. Wonder Woman was all right. I liked Wonder Woman, and I really, really liked Shazam. I thought Shazam was terrific, like really, really good. So I would give those credit. But yeah, I do. Obviously, I thought that the Nolan Batman movies, even when they weren't working so well for me, were a hell of a lot better than Man of Steel or Batman v Superman. There's no comparison. There's no comparison at all. 255 AD says, if Warren or Bernie had become the candidate, do you think the polls would be better or worse? I think they would probably maybe a little better or maybe about the same. I think if Biden is winning and is beating Trump this badly, I think Warren or Bernie would have been beating Trump at least this badly. Yeah, I don't think it would be. I don't necessarily think it would be a huge difference. I think the major factor is the disintegration of Trump with the COVID thing and everything else that has sort of been piled. I feel like people getting this close to the election are finally thinking, oh shit, this was a mistake. Maybe we should do something about this. Maybe we should vote this guy out. So I don't know if Warren or Bernie would necessarily be doing a lot better than Biden is doing now. Maybe a little better, but not significantly. Trask Ligero says, personally, I thought Wonder Woman fell into the trap of telling and not showing and undermined many of its own core themes. I've only watched it once, so I might have to go back and watch it again, to think a little more deeply about it. My big problem with it when I watched it was I just felt like the climax turned into CGI smash 'em up time. You know what I mean? Which unfortunately has become sort of par for the course for big, blockbuster superhero movies, where it's like, oh, time for the CGI fight. And it's like the last half hour of the movie is just CGI stuff smashing into each other. And I felt like Wonder Woman kind of fell into that trap. But other than that, I thought it was pretty good. I don't have a major problem with it aside from that. Ooh, you're Alta Trekkie. Now this is a hot take. There was no Batman movie since Batman and Robin that was actually fun. I will disagree with you here, because I think The Dark Knight is. The Dark Knight is not a fun movie overall. It's very serious and has some very grim parts to it, but there are parts of The Dark Knight that are also quite fun. And I think, and watching it does, put a smile on my face. Yes, it's a very serious movie, and it's dark, and it's not oh, what a great, bring the kids and have a great time at the movies with The Dark Knight. It's not that kind of movie. But it does have some fun moments. And and it's God, it's orders of magnitude better than Batman and Robin. Like Batman and Robin is fun if you're watching with someone and you're watching with the right mindset, you know, and you're making fun of it and just sort of enjoying it for what it is. Like, yeah, it's a ridiculously fun movie for sure. But you know, Chris Peets, what was wrong with Man of Steel? It was hot garbage. It was hot fucking garbage. That was what was wrong with Man of Steel. A Superman who doesn't want to be Superman. Superman who's just a grumpy asshole who almost never saves anybody in the whole movie. And actually, the only time he really saves people in the movie is before he even has the Superman suit on, when he saves the people from the oil rig. He's just a glum, sulky dick. His parents suck. That is a joyless, no fun movie. It's just a shitty movie. It's just a depressing fucking shitty movie. And I like Superman participates in the destruction of multiple blocks of a major city. Like, he's fighting Zod and the other Kryptonians. He makes no attempt to get them out of the way, you know, to fly them away from a populated area and fight where there aren't people. He shows no concern whatsoever for the collateral damage that their fight is causing, or for the lives of the people in the buildings that they are fucking knocking down. And then when the fight is over, or at least there's a lull in the fight, right? Superman flies down and starts making out with Lois in the middle of the rubble instead of even trying to save anybody who he can surely see and hear with his superpowers that are struggling nearby in the fucking rubble that he helped to create. And he's Superman. And he's like, I'm going to make out with Lois instead for a few minutes. Fuck that movie. Fuck that movie. And he breaks Zod's fucking neck for no reason, because it's a shittily written movie. It in no way does it justify that. They say, oh, I have a great idea because I'm a fucking psychopath. Let's end a Superman movie with Superman breaking the bad guy's neck because I have a black soul and no fucking heart. And that's the kind of Superman movie I want to see. I want to see Superman break the bad guy's neck. That's what I want. So let's do it. But let's only let's sort of give like a half-assed explanation for why he quote unquote has to break the bad guy's neck. And we're still supposed to think of this guy as Superman. Like, he's this destructive, selfish, sullen asshole who is in no way similar to other versions of Superman that the movie trades on and counts on us knowing about and liking, so that we'll transfer some of that onto their shitty version of Superman, who is not a hero and does nothing admirable. You know what I mean? Like, it's a shitty movie, and it's a shitty version of Superman, and Zack Snyder is a shitty filmmaker. Yeah, so that's why Man of Steel is bad. That's why Man of Steel is bad. And Batman v Superman is even worse. Batman v Superman is even worse because they blow up fucking Congress with Superman right there, and he just stands there and lets the fucking Capitol building burn down around him and just has kind of a grumpy look on his face like, oh, what the fuck? Yes, some random geek. The Lego Batman movie. Absolutely. The Lego Batman movie was a ton of fun. I love the Lego Batman movie. Dana, do you want to know what I really feel about Man of Steel? Do you really want to know what I feel about Man of Steel? I was underwhelmed. It's grim, low budget, or high. It's grim, big budget, like action schlock with no heart and no soul and no fucking brain. It's like watching other people play a really shitty, violent video game for 2.5 hours. Dana wants to know how long I will rant about Man of Steel and Zack Snyder all fucking night. I really don't know your opinion on Snyder or Man of Steel. Let me tell you. And Deralta Trekkie, I will agree with you there too. 98 Godzilla is better than Man of Steel. I agree. And 98 Godzilla is a shitty movie. I would rather watch it twice than watch Man of Steel one more time. Yeah, secular scale, the legendary Godzilla. I actually thought the new Godzilla was pretty good. I like the new Godzilla. I didn't see the second one. I didn't see the new Godzilla King of the Monsters, but I saw the first one from a couple years ago with, like, you know, Bryan Cranston in it and stuff, and Ken Watanabe. I liked it. I thought it was good. And I love Godzilla movies. I thought it was good. So yeah, of course, it's way fucking better than Man of Steel, I think. Yeah, Jesse, good point. There is a Lex Luthor piss jar in Batman v Superman. Trastlagero, Batman and Robin or Man of Steel? Batman and Robin. I'll tell you which one I'd rather watch, Batman and Robin. For sure. For sure. Like, no, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Batman and Robin. See, as an adult, as a grown-up, I can watch Batman and Robin and think this is a shitty movie, but I watch it and I can have a good time. Man of Steel, like, makes me angry, you know, and makes me feel like it's insulting me. Because again, it's trying to, it wants me to think that it's Superman is like this noble, heroic guy, when that is not what they are showing me. There is such a huge disconnect between what they are apparently wanting me to believe about this character and the character they are showing me in the movie. You know, they're showing me this destructive, reckless asshole, but they want me to think, oh, Superman, the great hero, right? So yeah, I would take Batman and Robin over Man of Steel any day. Any day. Sir Random Geek Havoc. No, I have not seen Godzilla King of the Monsters. I've seen the original, you know, from the 50s, but I know the new one, I have not seen Godzilla King of the Monsters, no. Sci-Fi 2285 says, would you prefer Cybok v Burnham to Batman v Superman? Yeah, that would be great. I would love to see Spock's, you know, siblings have a fight. For sure. For sure. Jesse has an interesting comment here. 300 is Snyder's best movie because it comes the closest to showing Snyder's undercurrent of homoeroticism throughout all his films. Yeah, and it's also him basically just straight up coming out as a fascist. Like, he's basically saying, I love fascism. I think these fascist Spartans are fucking awesome and heroic, and they're my heroes, and I'm going to glorify them for 2 hours or however long that fucking movie is. It's basic, and he did that movie before he got all the other shit, before he got Watchmen, before he got the Superman, Batman v Superman and Justice League. Somebody saw Zack Snyder make 300 and they thought, oh, I want this guy who makes these super fascist movies to make our superhero movies. I want the fascist filmmaker to make our superhero movies, because that's what 300 is. 300 is straight up fucking glorification of fascism. So yeah, I mean, I mean, you know, and here's the thing. I don't know if Zack Snyder is like consciously a fascist. I think he's probably just some dude bro dipshit who hasn't thought about these things for more than 2 seconds. Like, I don't think he's like consciously like a fascist or like a bad person. I think he's just a fucking dipshit without a fucking idea in his head. And he read some Ayn Rand when he was 13, and mentally and emotionally, he's just still there. Like, that's what I think Zack Snyder is. Oh, and some random, yeah, Kong Skull Island was really good. I really like Kong Skull Island a lot. 255 AD says, what do you think of the theory that Harris is going to be the power behind the throne if Biden wins? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure she'll have a lot of influence. And I think because Biden had a very active role in Obama's presidency, I think Biden as president would invite that from Harris and would want her to also be a very active vice president. Power behind the throne, I think that might be taking it a little too far, but I think she'll definitely be a very, very active presence in the administration for sure. You know, Eric says, I loved Watchmen. I actually, and Atticus too. I'll agree with you. I thought the Watchmen movie was good. I did. I think that's probably the only Zack Snyder movie that I can honestly say I watched from beginning to end, and I genuinely liked it. Now, the theatrical cut, the director's cut, I thought was terrible. The director's cut, I thought, completely ruined it. The theatrical cut of Watchmen, I thought was really, really good. I really liked it. So I'll give Zack Snyder that much. He made a good Watchmen movie. Theatrically. when he released the extra long director's cut, it was fucking garbage. But the theatrical cut of Watchmen is really good for sure. Oh my God says, any predictions for Discovery season 3? Any fears? No, I don't really have either. I'm trying not to, I try not to do that. I would just say that I'm really excited for it. I think the idea of jumping them ahead to the 31st century or wherever the fuck they're going to be is a great idea. Letting the show start fresh. A Star Trek show has never really done that before, where they started out in one time period and then sort of transferred to another time period for the setting. That's really cool. So there's like, it's wide open, all the things they can do with the show now, which I think is terrific. And the trailers have looked good, have made me want to see the show more. So, I mean, I don't really have any predictions. I hope it's good. I'm super excited to see it. I'm really super excited to see it. Oh, Dana finished her 9 essays. Yay. Awesome. Great job. Yes, and Mr. Camerite, and I'll answer this one and then we'll wrap up because I've been going over 90 minutes now, and it's time to stop doing this. Yes, I did hear that Janeway is going to be in Star Trek Prodigy. That's really cool. I will make sure to watch the show. I was probably going to watch it anyway, just because I'm a Star Trek fan. I just want to see how it is. But yeah, that's really cool that Kate Mulgrew is going to play Janeway again. I'm really excited about that. Not as excited as I am for season 3 of Discovery, but still, I think it's really cool. Oh, Matt Mankin, this is interesting. Who do you think the true hero of Watchmen was? I don't know if there was a true hero of Watchmen. Like, they're all pretty morally compromised. I will say this. I don't think it was Rorschach. I think Zack Snyder wants me to think that it was Rorschach. But I don't think it was Rorschach. And I don't think it was Ozymandias either. Because, I mean, he did a really bad thing. I don't know. But yeah, so anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up, everybody. So once again, patreon.com/Steve Shives to support my work on YouTube if you would like. Also, don't forget the podcasts that I co-host with the great Jason Harding. LetMeListenPodcast.com. You can listen to all of the great Let Me Listen podcasts in that family of podcasts. And the ones that I'm on are Late Seating, which is the movie review podcast. We just reviewed The Wolfman in our most recent episode. And I'm also on The Ensign's Log, which is the Star Trek themed comedy podcast. And there's a new episode of The Ensign's Log coming out on Friday. And y'all, it's the best Ensign's Log ever. And you totally have to listen to it because it is awesome. It was such a blast to record, and I am more giddy with anticipation for people. I know Atticus is here. Atticus hosts some podcasts with Jason too. Everybody loves Cinetific. I love Atticus, and Atticus and Jason host awesome podcasts that I am not on at all, and you should still listen to. But yeah, the new episode of The Ensign's Log coming out on Friday is the best episode yet, and I'm really looking forward to people hearing it, and I hope everybody likes it. And also, don't forget the charity links linked below in the description. Those are some friends of ours who need a helping hand that Some Random Geek has been kind enough to sort of collate into a Google Doc. So please check out the charity links and contribute and help out our friends if you possibly can. And Dana, thank you for reminding me. I almost forgot. Okay, so Wednesday is my Lower Decks review, right? Also on Wednesday evening, starting at 6 Eastern, I'm doing another Batman fanfic live read. And this one is special because it is the first part of a 3-part series where this Wednesday, next Wednesday, and the Wednesday after that will be a reading of a part of this fanfic story. And so you get the first part this week and then the second part next week and then the third part after that. And it's really, really cool. I'm really looking forward to you getting to hear this story. And I'm just really excited about it. So the first part of that is this Wednesday at 6. And it won't be as long as the other ones because it's just a part of the story. not like a big, long, complete story like I've read before. But yeah, so that's coming up on Wednesday. And then on Friday, of course, is Ask Away. So if you are a Patreon patron and you haven't submitted your question for Ask Away yet, the question post went up earlier today. So make sure you get your questions in between now and the start of the show on Friday. And yeah, that's it. That's what's going on for the rest of the week on the channel, everybody. Thank you so much for being with me for this second to last episode of the Facepalm 5. I really appreciate it. Sorry again about the technical difficulties earlier, and I'm glad that you stuck with me and we had a pretty good show even despite them. So thanks, everybody, for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you on Wednesday. Bye, everybody.